If you're the kind of guy who wakes up, checks his phone, opens Instagram, and starts replying to girls that don't even know who they are, this is for you. Because nobody's gonna tell you the truth. Your friends won't say it. Your parents don't even see it. But here's the reality. You're lost. You don't have a purpose, so you chase distraction. You don't have clarity, so you seek attention. You don't have an identity, so you try to build one through women. And this entire time, you think you're doing something. You think the validation, the flirting, the attention from girls, it means something. But it doesn't. It means you're running. Running from discipline. Running from vision. Running from becoming the man you know you're capable of being. Because when a man is truly on his path, locked into a mission that sets his soul on fire, he doesn't chase women. He doesn't have time to. He becomes so dialed in, so magnetic, that everything he used to chase starts chasing him. But that only happens when you stop living like a boy and start moving like a man with direction. You're not supposed to beg for attention. You're supposed to earn respect through focus, through action, through building something so powerful that the world has no choice but to pay attention. Chasing women is a symptom of a man without direction. When a man has no mission, no concrete purpose, and no identity rooted in strength or growth, he will always default to chasing something outside of himself to feel valuable. And most of the time, that something is women. Not because he genuinely values connection or love, but because chasing women gives him the illusion of progress. It makes him feel like he's doing something, like he's winning, like he's valuable, but it's fake. It's temporary. It's hollow. A man without direction doesn't know what he should wake up for in the morning. He doesn't have a target to hit, so he replaces it with a new girl to impress, a new match on an app, a new body to chase. And the game resets every week. But in the background, his soul is starving. His potential is untapped. His spirit is weak. His masculinity is dying. He doesn't realize that the endless pursuit of women is just a distraction from the one thing he truly fears, sitting with himself in silence, facing his own emptiness. A man with no direction fears the mirror, because he knows deep down that he hasn't built anything worth respecting. So he clings to women to fill the gap. He thinks their validation can cover up his lack of purpose. He thinks their attention means he's doing well. But he's not. He's drifting. He's just staying busy to avoid the real work, the hard work, the discipline, the structure. A man who's truly on his mission doesn't have time to chase women. He's too focused, too locked in, too obsessed with leveling up. He wakes up early, trains like a savage, builds relentlessly, and outworks the man he was yesterday. His standards are high, not just for women, but for himself. He doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, he attracts, and he filters. Because his time is too valuable to waste it on someone who brings nothing but looks to the table. He doesn't compromise his routine for a date. He doesn't rearrange his schedule to text back a girl who doesn't respect his time. He knows that every second spent chasing a woman is a second he's not building his empire. Women respect a man with direction. They don't say it out loud, but they feel it. They can smell it. A man with no goals reeks of desperation, and desperation is repulsive. But a man with purpose walks differently, talks differently, moves differently. He radiates certainty. He's not easily impressed. He's grounded. He doesn't need attention because he gives himself validation through work, through progress, through discipline. And that energy is magnetic. It draws people in. Not because he's chasing them, but because he's chasing greatness. You have to ask yourself, are you building a legacy, or are you collecting numbers in your phone to hide from your own insecurity? Are you becoming the kind of man who inspires respect, or the kind who begs for attention in Instagram DMs? Because every time you prioritize a woman over your purpose, you take one step further away from the man you could have become. The man who walks into a room and commands presence. The man who doesn't have to speak to be heard. The man whose life is so attractive she feels lucky to be part of it. That's what you should aim for. Not chasing, not begging, not proving, becoming. And becoming requires direction. If your days are built around when she's free to hang out, if your mood depends on whether she texts you back, if your confidence is based on who flirts with you, you're lost. You've handed over your power, and the world will punish you for it. Because men without direction are disposable, replaceable, forgotten. But men with vision are rare, and rare is respected, rare is chased, rare is remembered. So don't chase women, chase discipline, chase growth, chase clarity. Chase a future so powerful that women chase you just to get a taste of your world. Because when you build a life that's based on value, you won't need to convince anyone to stay. They'll fight to keep up. And you'll finally be free from the chains of validation, because you won't need it. You'll be too busy leading a life worth living. Your attention is currency. Stop giving it away for free. Every time you double tap a post, every time you reply to a story, every time you open a chat just to see if she's online, you're spending a currency more valuable than money. Your attention is your energy, your time, your power, your presence. And in today's world, the man who can control his attention controls his future. But you're broke. You're mentally bankrupt because you keep spending your attention on things that give you nothing in return. And you wonder why your life feels stagnant. You wonder why your confidence is low. You wonder why you feel behind. Because your attention is being drained by people and platforms that are feeding off your weakness. You've got to start treating your attention like a sacred asset. You don't give it away to just anyone. You don't throw it at girls who post pictures for validation. You don't waste it checking who viewed your story. You don't pour it into conversations that lead nowhere. You conserve it. You invest it. You use it to build yourself, to grow your income, to sharpen your mind, to master your body. Because every ounce of attention you give to the wrong thing is a stolen opportunity to invest it in the right thing. The women you chase are not stupid. They feel your desperation, they know you're watching their stories, they know you're the first to reply, they know you're always available, and in their minds that makes you common, replaceable, weak. Because the modern world has trained them to believe that attention is a reward for beauty. But high-value men don't play that game. High-value men give attention to those who've earned it. And even then, they give it sparingly. When you stop giving your attention away for free, everything in your life changes. You become more focused, more present, more intense. You stop reacting to every notification. You stop chasing girls who don't respect your time. You stop being addicted to seeing who liked your comment. And suddenly you start building momentum. You start winning. You start creating results that speak for themselves. And people notice. Not because you're chasing them, but because you've become someone worth watching. Every second you spend locked into a screen waiting for a reply is a second you could be building your body in the gym. Every minute you spend replaying her story is a minute you could be learning a skill that could make you wealthy. Every hour you waste talking to women who don't respect you is an hour you could have used to move closer to freedom. The most dangerous men in the world are the ones who control their attention, because they control their time. And when you control your time, you become unstoppable. So stop giving your attention away like it means nothing. Start protecting it like it's everything. Because it is. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Aim it right and you win. Waste it and you stay exactly where you are. Begging for replies, chasing people who don't care, and wondering why nothing's changing. Choose differently. Aim better. Lock in. Purpose-driven men attract, not pursue. The man who is truly obsessed with his mission never has to chase. His presence alone pulls everything toward him. He's not worried about who's texting him, who likes him, or who's watching, because he's too busy becoming. That's the difference. The average man wakes up and asks, who can I impress today? The purpose-driven man wakes up and asks, how can I win today? His energy is different. His priorities are sharper. And because he's not trying to impress, he naturally becomes impressive. When your days are structured around improving your body, building your income, mastering your mind, and growing your discipline, your energy becomes rare. Rare energy doesn't chase, it magnetizes. There's a shift that happens when you lock into purpose. Your eyes change, your body language changes. Your tone, your time, your attention, it all becomes valuable. You start treating every minute like it matters. You don't spend it chasing women, you don't waste it replying to meaningless messages. You're working, you're leveling up, and the truth is, most men won't understand you. They'll laugh, they'll call you cold, emotionless, or obsessed. But obsession with purpose is exactly what separates the leaders from the followers, the kings from the pawns. When you're purpose-driven, you attract respect without asking for it. You attract women without chasing them. And the ones who do come into your life, they value you more because they had to earn access to you. But this only happens when your purpose becomes stronger than your desires. When you finally get tired of wasting your potential, when you get disgusted with mediocrity, when you realize you were not born to chase beauty, but to build something that outlasts you. A man locked into his vision doesn't just attract women, he attracts opportunities, networks, wealth, respect. Not because he asked for it, but because people can feel when someone is serious. Purpose creates energy, and energy is influence. You don't have to yell, you don't have to prove, you just exist, and the room shifts. You become the kind of man who doesn't just inspire attention, he demands it through action. And women feel it. They see the discipline, the structure, the drive. They sense that you're not available to everyone, and that scarcity makes you valuable. Because the truth is, when you chase women, they see it as weakness. But when you chase greatness, they see it as power. They may never say it out loud, but deep down, they're drawn to the man who doesn't need them to feel whole. The man who's building something so powerful that she wants to be part of it, not because he begged, but because he became undeniable. Being purpose-driven means you no longer live for validation. You don't care if they notice. You're not measuring your self-worth by who texts you back. You're too deep in the process to care. You've got money to make, a legacy to build, a standard to raise. And the irony is, once you stop chasing women and fully embrace your path, they start chasing you. Not because you changed for them, but because you finally became the version of yourself that you were meant to be. Validation from women won't fix your internal void. The biggest lie men are sold is that a woman's attention is the reward for being valuable, that her affection equals your worth, that her love means you're enough. But this is where so many men destroy themselves. They go out looking for women to fix what's broken inside. They think if they just find the right one, everything will click. They think if she likes them, it means they're on the right track. But validation from women is not the cure for the void inside you, it's a distraction from it, a dangerous one. Because the more you chase it, the deeper the emptiness grows. When you depend on women to feel good about yourself, you're no longer in control. Your confidence rises and falls based on a text. Your happiness depends on how she looks at you. Your self-worth is now outsourced to someone who doesn't even carry the responsibility of your future. You've become weak. Not because women are the problem, but because you never took the time to fix yourself. You skipped the pain. You skipped the solitude. You skipped the hard days of facing your insecurity alone. And now you're using women as a crutch, as a band-aid, as a temporary high that always ends in disappointment. You've got to realize this. If you feel empty without her, you'll never feel whole with her. If you're looking to be completed by someone else, you will always settle. You'll ignore red flags. You'll tolerate disrespect. You'll chase after people who drain you just to feel needed. That's not power. That's addiction. And the world is full of men who are addicted to female validation, addicted to likes, to replies, to attention from women they don't even respect. And all of it is driven by the same thing, a broken identity. If you want to build something real, something permanent, you've got to do the hard work. You've got to heal. You've got to look in the mirror and face the reality that you're not proud of yourself, that you're not who you promised yourself you'd be. And no woman can fix that. No relationship will fill that gap. You have to go to war with your weakness. You have to grind in silence. You have to suffer, build, fall, and rise alone. Because only through that process do you earn real self-respect. And that respect, that's what makes you a man. Not the validation from others, but the validation from yourself when you know you've earned it. Once you build that, you stop chasing. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop asking, do you like me? And you start saying, here's who I am, take it or leave it. That's power. That's what women respect. That's what other men admire. Not someone who's constantly looking for approval, but someone who walks with certainty, because he's built himself from the ground up, with no handouts, no shortcuts, and no emotional dependency. You have to stop thinking that being wanted is the goal. Being respected is being valued for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. And that starts with building a foundation that no one can shake. A foundation that doesn't rely on compliments or attention or praise, but a foundation made of discipline, character, and relentless self-improvement. Once you have that, validation becomes irrelevant. You'll take it when it's earned. You'll ignore it when it's fake, because you no longer need it to feel worthy. You know who you are, and that's all that matters. You can build an empire while being distracted by lust. Lust is one of the most powerful and underestimated enemies of greatness. It creeps into your day in small moments, disguised as harmless scrolls, casual conversations, and meaningless temptations. It steals your attention, eats your discipline, and makes you weak. The man who is constantly stimulated by lust can never truly focus. His mind is scattered, his goals are delayed, and his progress is fragile. Because every time he starts to build momentum, lust interrupts. Lust whispers, take a break, check your phone, message her back, watch this video, look at this post. And you obey. Not because you want to, but because you've become a slave to it. You've been conditioned to choose short-term pleasure over long-term greatness. You've been tricked into thinking your cravings are more urgent than your calling. Building an empire requires obsession, not distraction. It demands that every minute is accounted for, that your energy is directed, that your focus is unshakable. But you can't do that if your brain is hijacked by lust. You can't do that if you're constantly seeking stimulation from images, texts, and thoughts that pull you away from the mission. You think it's harmless, but it's not. Every time you give in, you weaken your resolve. You lose a piece of yourself. You exchange power for comfort. And comfort is the death of kings. No man ever became great by being comfortable. No man ever built a legacy by spending his nights chasing girls instead of chasing his vision. You want wealth? You want status? You want respect? Then you need to develop monk-level discipline. You need to train your mind to ignore the temptations that destroy most men. Because the truth is, the average man will never rise. Not because he isn't capable, but because he can't stay focused long enough. He's too busy being controlled by his impulses. But the man who can conquer lust becomes unstoppable. He has the advantage. He's sharper, calmer, more dangerous. Because while everyone else is distracted, he's building. While they chase pleasure, he chases power. While they waste time, he creates results. You have to start treating lust like a virus. Not something to flirt with, but something to eliminate. You don't negotiate with it. You don't dance with it. You kill it. You starve it by replacing it with purpose. By filling your days so fully with meaningful action that your brain doesn't have space for weakness. Hit the gym when the urges come. Open a book. Build your business. Work until the only thing you crave is progress. And every time you resist, you grow stronger. Every time you say no, you gain leverage over yourself. That's how real discipline is built. Not in comfort, but in the fire of resistance. You've got to understand this at a core level. Lust will rob you of your potential if you let it. It will keep you stuck in cycles of regret. It will waste your time, drain your energy, and lower your standard. And worst of all, it will keep you from becoming the man you're supposed to be. Because that man is clear. That man is locked in. That man is so focused, so driven, so committed to his empire that lust dies in his presence. Be that man. The most powerful men are focused, not thirsty. There is a distinct difference between being a man of desire and being a man of desperation. One moves with purpose, the other moves with thirst. And in the world of high value, thirst is weakness. The most powerful men don't chase validation, attention, or fleeting pleasure. They don't scroll for approval or beg for replies. They are focused, laser focused on growth, on money, on legacy, and that focus becomes their power. While the world is busy looking left and right, they look straight ahead. While others crave to be seen, they move in silence and let results speak. They're not interested in being liked. They're interested in winning. Thirst is loud, it's insecure. It's constantly seeking permission to feel valuable. It shows up in comments, DMs, excessive compliments, and the kind of energy that screams, please notice me. But focus is quiet. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need praise. It simply performs. It builds, it produces, and in doing so, it creates gravity. People are drawn to it. Women are drawn to it, not because the man is chasing, but because he's moving with such conviction that his presence demands attention without asking for it. Focus isn't just about avoiding distraction. It's about knowing what matters and having the discipline to ignore everything that doesn't. It's about locking into your schedule, like your life depends on it. It's about treating your calendar like a weapon. Every hour has a purpose. Every task serves the mission. And there is no room in that structure for thirst. There is no time to chase people who add no value. Because when you're building something legendary, your energy must be guarded like gold. You protect your time the way a king protects his kingdom, ruthlessly, unapologetically. The problem is, most men aren't taught how to focus, they're taught how to react, how to respond, how to chase. So they end up living on autopilot. They follow trends, mimic influencers, and get pulled in 1,000 directions. But powerful men are the opposite. They lead, they set the tone, they create the trend. And that leadership starts with internal focus. You can't control the world if you can't even control your mind. You can't dominate your industry if you can't dominate your own impulses. You can't lead others if you're still begging for someone to like you back. Focus is the foundation of strength. This is why power doesn't come from how many women want you. It comes from how little you need them. Not in a hateful way, not in an avoidant way, but in a self-sufficient, grounded, purpose-driven way. You know who you are. You know what you're building, and anyone who doesn't align with that vision can leave. That's real power. That's the kind of power that can't be taken away, because it doesn't rely on external approval. It's built from within, and it's unshakable. When you become focused, you become rare. When you become rare, you become valuable. And when you're valuable, the world takes notice. Not because you asked it to, but because you've earned it. Through silence, through action, through relentless execution. And as you keep stacking wins, something shifts. The women who ignored you start watching. The people who laughed start asking questions. But by then, you're already too focused to care. You've moved on. You've outgrown them. You've become exactly what you said you would become. And that speaks louder than thirst ever could. This entire game changes the second you choose to operate from power, not thirst. The second you stop chasing and start creating. The second you stop scrolling and start building. The second you stop looking for validation and start moving with certainty. Because the world doesn't follow the loudest man. It follows the most focused one. The one who's too dialed in to care about noise. The one who's so intentional with his time that distraction dies in his presence. That's who you're becoming. Not the guy who needs to be liked. Not the guy who's addicted to attention, but the one who walks in silence and lets results speak. Women don't chase the man who's always available. They chase the one who's rare. And you only become rare when you become focused. You don't need her to notice. You don't need anyone to clap. You just need to keep going. Tunnel vision, ruthless discipline, unshakable standards. Because when you're that focused, you become the storm. You no longer ask for power, you become it.